Good morning to everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Let me at the outset express my sincere thanks to JNTU Kakinada, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Registrar, very personally and particularly Dr. Satyanarayana and Dr. Charva and Dr. Jyotirmayi for inviting me to this workshop being sponsored by MSME New Delhi, organized by SMS, JNTU Kakinada. Let's begin with what management is. In the sense, I suppose there are representatives of industry surrounding Kakinada. We are in practicing management. We are preaching management. So the combination of preaching and practice makes a real sense, makes a full garland, flower and thread. That makes the organizations move, the economy becomes fast growing, and there is life in everybody's life. Okay, what makes the management in organizations? Like we said, the thread and flower, management is a nerve center of success of any organization. Nerve center being an instrument which directs, which motivates the entire activities of organization towards its meaningful end, that is achieving objectives. Number of developments, inventions have taken place since the birth of management, since the recognition of management as such. Management, without our knowledge, being conceptualized as management, it was in practice since ages. Then we started calling all these activities as management. Then we realized it from that time onwards, right from Babylonian period and so on. We started recognizing all these activities cumulatively being done, performed for a cause. So when you look at job objectives and activities, when they are coinciding and that going together hand in hand, we find the success, we find the higher result rate and etc. Over a period of time, we have seen the concepts that have evolved in management, and one such concept is supply chain. Supply chain has become a root for the success of organization. It is basically an activity of integrating, bringing together all the partners and all the sections responsible in making a product or service to the customer. It's an integrated chain. That means whether it is communication, whether it is material, visible, invisible, all kinds of activities, all kinds of sections have been integrated through supply chain. So with this basic understanding of supply chain, there are many things to talk about supply chain, but essentially the a root activity is this. The other topic, which has been very common, compulsory to all the organizations in the management, is leadership. Leadership, we know, is a driving force which initiates, motivates, moves and sustains the human efforts in the organization. And this leadership is, over a period of time, has become a way of life to everyone. Now the question is, how do we make at this stage of development? Today you see lots of improvements, lots of initiatives have come in every walk of our life, including supply chain and leadership. The definition that was given to leadership sometime about 50 years back is totally redefined today. The definition is not leader is not the one who controls. Leader is the one who motivates and inspires, rather than controlling, directing. All these principles have become misnomer today. Can we in real life, can we imagine controlling any other human being? It's impossible. Control is the word which has been taken away from management, and in place we get motivation, we get inspiration, and we get involvement. Lots of other concepts are done. So we define and redefine leadership today in the present context. And a very basic common understanding and fact is that whatever you do, it has to be contemporary. Whatever you work for, it should be the contemporary environment. Contextual. So therefore, we say new wine in an old bottle. Earlier we used to say old wine in a new bottle, and today it is reversed. Value. Concept is the same. Leadership has been taught. I was taught leadership about 50 years back. I am teaching leadership today. But there is an enormous difference between what I learned and what I am teaching. Therefore, it is by looking at the topics, it appears very easy. But when you go into details, you will find how much of changes that, even structural changes have been taken place in the different concepts as I said. So, the topic that is given to me today is, how do we look at leadership in the context of present conditions which are highly influenced by the technological development, technological marvels. With that out, automatically the management activities and functions are getting integrated, immersed into technological, or they are bounded to technological kind of influence. And the option left to people is only one, that we need to change. As change is dynamic, change is compulsory, change is persistent, and the change is inevitable. We need to make ourselves change according to the situations. And what the supply chain demands today, as a student of supply chain management, I learned only basics. But as a teacher of management and supply chain, I need to tell a lot of things to my students at this point of time. Maybe, I presume, that the industry representatives will be completely busy in their routine works in different functional areas. But when they look at how this supply chain is moving towards and how much impact it is creating on the organizations is really a point of concern to all of us. When you look at the leadership as one aspect or one dimension of total management personality, which has an impact on the supply chain, then one needs to focus on what are the areas of supply chain which are directly influenced by the type of leadership that the organization possesses. Of course, it's a fact that leadership, supply chain management is influenced by many factors, multifold factors. Maybe environment, economy, technology, mostly, leadership, culture, organizational environment, financial position of the environment, financial position of organizations, etc., etc. But for all this, one driving force is human being, and that human being is the leadership. Whether you take any mobile or immobile activities or functions in the organization or materials in the organization, the driving force for being dynamic, creating dynamism in all these activities is the leadership. And that leadership is available only with the human being. And the human being is rated only with the content that he or she possesses. So ultimately, it is the human force which drives the organization further, which makes the organization more dynamic, which makes the organization integrate all the activities within the organization for a purpose. The purpose being reaching out to the objectives. Hence we say, leadership is the ability to guide, inspire, align the diverse network of internal teams that is within the organization and driving them towards organizational objectives. So in this context, with this prologue, let us see how exactly the leadership creates an impact on supply chain and for much more effectiveness of supply chain in the organizations. Before we look at the three major precincts of leadership, core dimensions of leadership, key traits of effective leaders, and leadership styles. Leadership styles, we had benevolent leadership, right, laissez-faire, and these are all the old type of leadership styles. And today leadership style is fundamentally different. But leader remains, leadership remains. Ship is there, leader is also there, but the content is different. Earlier we used to supply most genuine products like cotton, iron ore and everything. Now we are supplying arms and ammunition, pistons and all confiscated goods are there. But leader is there, ship is also there, but what is happening is totally different here. Core dimensions of leadership is vision and strategy. Every organization, you all must be aware of the vision of your own respective organizations. And the strategy is also explicit. Strategy is also explicit. And therefore, everyone knows about what is leadership, what is vision and what is strategy. Network influence, change agent, change agency, talent development. These are the core dimensions of leadership in the context of supply chain. What is the first one? Vision and strategy. Vision and strategy are the vision that the organization has in terms of making supply chain more effective, not as just in time, but it is just in cause. What is important? Today, just in time approach is wonderful, but looking beyond that, just in time has gone, and now what we look at, the leadership should have the vision of looking at about 30 years, the next 30 years of the organization, and then preparing it today itself. This is an idea, this is the vision that the leadership should have beyond just-in-time approach. Next, network influence. Influencing, what is a network here? In supply chain, the network is integration of all the people responsible. Like, for example, automobile industry depends on tire manufacturing company, iron ore companies, technology companies, right? Unless these people support, the automobile industry cannot run its business. This is question. Second thing is, having manufactured automobile, a car or a truck or a jeep or whatever, unless it is sold, company has no value. Who is important in the other side? Customer. So when you are in the center, on the right side you have customer, on the left side you have supplier. In between, there are number of players like satellite kind of satellite units, ancillary units, subsidiaries, number of companies. Very interestingly, I come from a place where Kia is located. We have seen for one Kia Motor company to manufacture cars, there are nearly about 50 to 60 ancillary units. Satellite units are there. And all these units are located by different companies, not necessarily Kia. They are different companies, either Indian company or Korean company or some other company. They have come and established their factories. They started supplying nuts, bolts and everything to Kia. So when we look at the supply chain, you will definitely find the number of players in the total process. Integrating all these people together is really a great challenge to leadership. That is what the network influence talks about. And then change agent. Leader should have the vision for bringing change in the attitude of employees, change in the attitude of followers, change in the attitude as a culture of employees, change in the very kind of behavior of employees working under them in the organization side of it. It's not only limited only to your organization, but you are also can influence this change in other ancillary units. The total supply chain. Imagine the kind of challenge, the kind of depth of challenge that the leader holds in every is a change agent. He has to continuously influence and bring in change in the people in terms of attitude, in terms of culture, in terms of the way they do the business. Then, not stopping at that point, talent development, leadership in the supply chain process should also equip all the people involved in terms of enhancing their knowledge, skills and knowledge. There are a number of companies. Toyota did the same thing after tsunami and after great earthquake. Toyota brought in see-through changes in their total processes by instilling a kind of a different style of influential leadership, and therein the company was able to maintain its chip manufacturing even in the most recession periods, and thereby able to stand number one among all other competitors. And of course, after that turbulent period is over, again Toyota started continuing the business. This is one example where we can say how organizations must be vigilant in observing the changes in the environment and accordingly bringing changes internally. So once a change brought in by Toyota is through leadership. Next, key traits of effective leadership. With all these expectations, with the new definition of vision and leadership, vision and strategy, the leaders are supposed to have different type of traits. Traits are internal qualities essentially of leaders. Adaptability. One cannot be rigid enough, and one should be able to adapt to the situation. Adopt and adapt, both. Emotional intelligence and systems thinking. Systems thinking here is every leader in supply chain is expected to have a thorough and hands-on complete knowledge about their developments in the systems such as artificial intelligence or information systems or information technology or IoT and etc. Then what type of having these traits, then what type of, how do I exhibit? The leadership style is essentially the exhibition of your internal leader qualities to others. That is where the style comes in. Style is a behavior which is unintentionally coming out of a person. This is my style. This is my style of working. We keep using this word very frequently, very loosely, very commonly, but then without knowing the actual meaning of it. It is effort. You don't know that you are putting effort. It is a style. That's all. What type of leadership styles that today's leader requires, particularly in the context of supply chain management, is transformational, transactional. Every leader should have the style of thinking. Thinking becomes a part of your style. This thinking should always be positive in making your follower transform. Your core focus should be only on changing your followers, changing your environment, changing your activities, rather than punishing, rather than reprimanding, rather than giving them kind of recognition and all that. Here, recognition has no significance. All that I want is you need to change. You need to transform. You need to move from one level to the higher level. Should be the focus by the leader on the followers. So, characteristic doesn't work here. Like, do what I say. That has gone. Nobody listens now. Do what I say means next day you will be in front of some inquiry commission. Those things have gone. And follow me is not that everyone has mind. Everyone has a reactive power. Everyone has responsive power. So you can't say that just simply you are going and your people are following you. They may go even crossing you. So that is, those things have gone. Now what is important is, even if for the leader, because everyone has a leadership quality today. It's only about 30 or 40 years back when the concept was told in the class, everyone was gazing at the teacher and listening attentively. Today everyone knows the definition of leadership. Oh, this is the leadership. Because same old coin cannot be continued all the way. We need to make some changes somewhere to make ourselves better than our followers. How do we become better than our followers? We have to catch up some areas where you have exclusive talent. When you have exclusive talent, that makes all the sense for you. Nobody will compete with you. It's core competence. Core competence is that when you have some special quality in you, special kind of capacity which others do not have, like S.P. Balasubramanian. He was a B.Tech graduate, could not pass first year, became a world-class singer. That was his core competence. And the only thing is, you have to catch up at the right time. That is important. Similarly, in the organizational leadership also, the leader who is holding the position should always have some kind of exclusive core competence or quality. And that is where the leader searches for and becomes better than the follower. Obviously, when leader means he should be better than others, better than followers at least. When he is better than follower, and you need to have some additional qualities which followers cannot reach to, that is transformation. Transformational concept is such a vibrant concept which gives a lot of kind of mental kind of exercises that the individual is supposed to possess. The second one is transactional. This is day-to-day transactions while you interact with, while you encounter with your followers, suppliers, and what kind of leadership that you need to present, and how do you make them transform and all kinds of things. And situation. Situational is completely contextual. As the global trends, when Trump says 30% of tariff, or what kind of leadership in an organization in Kakinada should have. And if he says in the next 3 years we are going to reduce the tariff, he has recently announced that he has made 15% common to all the countries. Where Japan was having 25% tariff and India had 20%, all of them brought down to 15% equal. Now the question is, how can you equalize all these people, all the countries? This is a different argument, that's the business argument. But what is its impact of these announcements on? The impact of these announcements on the leadership in an organization, a tiny organization, MSME organization, in somewhere in the corner of Kakinada or some other place. It has influence. That is where we talk about the situational leadership also becomes an important style of leadership that one should have in making supply chain management more effective. Next. Yeah. Now when we talked about supply chain, we also talked about leadership. Now when we integrate these two, what type of different shapes that the leadership would be catching at? Strategic alignment, relationship management, talent development, change management and agility, and ethical oversight. There are many points that we can talk about leadership in supply chain, but these are a few important aspects which actually have a significant impact on the supply chain management. What is strategic alignment? Alignment here is making an organization align itself with the other supplying organizations, or maybe customer organizations, or the retailers. When I say alignment, it should be in total. It can't be leaving out the retailer, catching hold of only supplier, or leaving out supplier and catching hold of customer or retailer or so on. And the relationship management. Relationship management makes a sense in a way that the organization, the leadership, is supposed to have an integrated approach, integrated focus on entire circle of supply chain, and bring them together and treat them, talk to them, and discuss and maintain relations in such a way that they become more partners than suppliers or customers. Of course, we talked about talent management, developing the skills and knowledge among all the followers. The finest thing is, in a training program, leader also sits with the trainees and try to learn. It's something like only the stage is kept high because all of you can see instead of me seeing all of you. Approach is different. And it should always be two-way learning. There are lots of ideas in you. Only by virtue of invitation I am standing here, maybe by age or whatever it is. I always feel that. Let the noble thoughts come from different corners of the universe. In Upanishads it is said. So even in a small mind, there is a brilliant idea. The leadership is one which has the responsibility of collecting all the talents and integrating them. Change management and agility. Change is 100% necessary. Every organization, whether you like or not, during COVID period, you are bound to wear masks. You are bound to protect yourself. This was compulsory. Even a healthy person had to. Otherwise, government forced them to do it. This is change. There are a number of changes in the organizational environment also. If you look at one small organization in one area, cannot be left exclusive, cannot be left alone. It has either directly or indirectly a great impact of the global changes. So when you are going with this kind of assumption and fact, even small organizations, such as water purifying plants or drinking water plants, which is under MSME, which requires a very reasonable amount of investment. Still, they have to compete with India. Otherwise, they can't survive in the market. So, to compete with the Kinley, not just changing the name this way, that way, and making the design the same. People do that. But that is not a sustainable management. If at all any, for example, Tata Water is there, it is competing with Kinley, with the global standards. Maintaining global standards is a must to make your business long, to make your business perpetual. Otherwise, it is difficult. So, in terms of change management, whatever the changes that are taking place in the global environment, the global scenario, all those will directly or indirectly impact your leadership, and therefore the leadership should always be vigilant enough to these changes and thereby absorb those changing aspects which can influence your leadership and thereby make your supply chain much more better. It's not only the leadership that is influenced in terms of technology requirement, in terms of impact of global economic conditions. Directly supply chain itself is also impacted, is influenced. Therefore, the leadership should also be very cautious about the influences, global influences on the supply chain process itself, and then absorb them also, so that the finest leadership can be given in integrating all the players in supply chain. And the final is ethical oversight. What is ethics? A highly contextual and complex kind of issue today. Any ethics that were followed in the previous, today those may not be ethics. Ethics are redefined, ethics are repracticed today. So the ethical values are absolutely left to the exclusive type of leadership, whether it's transformational or transactional leadership, that depends. Next. Therefore, what kind of core leadership skills as of today that are required in individuals, in leaders, which can influence your supply chain? Strategic thinking and decision making. Here is the very, very important point, that the top leadership in organizations must find out what kind of supply chain that will be more type of model of supply chain that is very effective to make the organizations sustain in the next 5 to 10 years at least, and accordingly take decisions. Then adaptability, we already talked about. Then collaboration and relationship building. These are the main points which surround in making leadership and supply chain management and relations much more effective. Digital literacy and technological proficiency is the order of the day. Whether I like it or not, I am supposed to follow artificial intelligence. I am just looking at it. The next 2 years I am going to retire. Should I have to learn? Yeah. Where is the necessity for me to follow AI now? I cannot keep thinking that way. AI impact has already started on me. So for me to survive successfully for the next couple of years, I have to, there is no other way. In the sense, now all of you must be, I presume, must be getting calls. And these calls are by artificial intelligence. Today also I got a call. Are you so and so speaking? And I say yes. Immediately it switches to my native language. And it talks about we are offering loan, Flipkart loan. Now because of this AI intrusion, in the last month, I was told 90,000 jobs, people lost their jobs just last month. Because all these people who join with intermediate or degree with a few communication skills, they were all doing this job and now they have been thrown away and replaced with artificial intelligence equipment or programs. Therefore, I cannot be, I can't say that, okay, I am now free after retirement, no need of AI and everything, it has already started. So naturally, I am also bound to practice AI. I have to absorb what is AI, what is machine learning, what is data sciences. I am undergoing a short-term course also in that. Lifelong student, lifelong teacher. Then, change management and negotiations and emotional intelligence. So these are the key competencies that the leadership is supposed to possess to make a supply chain more vibrant and effective. Okay, for that, how the leadership and what type of models that leadership is supposed to have. 3 C's. Communication, collaboration, change. And this is three C's supply chain leadership. And when you integrate that with the 7 C's of logistics, what does logistics? Connect it to the suppliers and customers. Create an environment of a vibrant environment among all the three, and bring in a kind of perfect understanding that even if there is any deficiency either in the material or in physical form or invisible form or in the total supply chain process itself. Supply chain is not always be visible, it can be invisible also. For example, the tickets that you book online is influenced by supply chain. When your money got struck, you have not received the ticket, you have not received the confirmation, you have not received the confirmation of your orders, and your money, you get back your money after some time. This is effectiveness of supply chain. Essentially, even in this kind of vibrant environment and supply chain environment, organizations try to deceive customers in some way. Then we need to be very, very vigilant in terms of the one very bad experience with Confirm Ticket. Confirm Ticket is a company which books the tickets for you in railways and flights and everything. When your ticket got cancelled, suppose that your ticket booked ticket is not confirmed. When it is waitlist and chart is prepared, what should happen? Your money should be paid back to you. But they don't pay money back to you. You wait and afterwards you make a call to customer care and they said it is there in your wallet, sir. Who asked you to keep it and keep the money, my money, in your wallet on my name? And they say, If you want that refund immediately, go to wallet and click the button. You will get the money credited to your account. Should I have to do all this exercise for my money? When ticket is cancelled, my money should come back to me automatically. What is the right that confirmed ticket company has to put that money in wallet? And second thing is, they also said that if your ticket is not confirmed, 3 times of the ticket money will be paid back to you. You know that 3x. 3x is the one. And now what they say is, no sir, we pay only the ticket fare back to you, and remaining two parts, that is 3 times the ticket. No? So remaining 2 times the ticket amount is kept for you, and you can use that in rebooking the ticket. Why should I, when I don't want to travel, what do? They have no answer. They presume that once you initiate travel, that means that you must either book or book, you must travel. Suppose I book the ticket, since my ticket is cancelled, I drop the idea of traveling. At that time, they don't pay that money back, it seems. So you won't get that money. They say that it is 3x alternative. They have added another name, and they said 3x alternative, which means you don't get, suppose you book a ticket for 1,000 and you are supposed to get 3,000 rupees for cancelled ticket. They pay only 1,000 rupees, remaining 2,000. It is not in your wallet. If it is in wallet, you can go press the button, it will be credited to your account. They are very careful. So what they did is, they have sent a message that now your money is still with us and you can rebook your ticket. So compulsory they see that you make travel again. These are the logical, legally not binding tricks that the companies play. Okay, so connection is that, and create an environment in such a way that there is a meaningful understanding of all of us. And the supply chain even goes beyond in interlinking leadership with the customer and the supplier also. They are not kept alone. It is a circular tie where customer or main organization and the supplier, all the three will have complete understanding, complete linkage. That is where the effectiveness of supply chain comes in. So customize. Customize means designing the products and services that are suitable to the requirements, suitable to the organizations and suitable to the customers. Of course, coordinate and consolidate, collaborate and contribute. All these C's of logistics, when they are integrated with the communication, collaboration, change, finally you find 3 into 7 is equal to 6. That is 6 rights are right product, right customer, right quality, quantity, time, place, cost. So ultimately, the very objective of supply chain management is to make your product or service to achieve all these 6 rights. For that, you have to integrate your 3 C's of leadership with that of 7 C's of logistics, and ultimately you find the 6 rights are met. The next, how do we design the leadership? Now, having understood what type of leadership and what type of supply chain management environment that we have, and in what kind of environment that the leadership is supposed to behave, and what qualities that the leadership are supposed to have. Now, how do we design and how do we acquire these leadership? First thing is digital proficiency, strategic foresightedness, and human-centric adaptability. When you look at, I purposefully picked up these three issues because I understand that these three they complete the entire process of leadership in supply chain, which means digital. Talking about technology involvement in leadership. So every leader is supposed to be more proficient enough in digital literacy, that is understanding the digital technology, understanding its impact, understanding how to operate it, how to handle it, etc. Foresightedness for the organization. How organizations are going to move, are going to be influenced, are going to be playing in the next generation, or maybe in the next 10, 15 years. So strategically looking at the organization and having a clear idea about the future of organization. Of course, with all this, human adaptability. So, come what may, any number of technological developments and marvels we see, finally, all these technologies have to be managed only with the human touch. When this human touch is not there, so therefore, certain positions, certain human activities may be replaced with artificial intelligence, but ultimately, the human being is the central and the focal point of making supply chain a successful activity. Fine, when we look at supply chain management, leaders must move from cost focused to total values. How much is cost calculation is only becomes a secondary one, rather the total value creation. Value creation is where the customer experience is integrated with digital interactions and enterprise resilience. Enterprise resilience is very, very important. Sustainability of organization for a longer run survival with digital interactions such as negotiations made with the suppliers, discussions with the customers, or any number of middlemen in between through digital, by using digital technology, and then the integrating customer experience, like the feedback that we get for every travel we make, for every purchase we make. Organizations are really serious about taking our suggestions and feedback, which makes a lot of sense to them. For us, we may say that, okay, skip for now. You press the button, skip for now. Or say, not interested now. All these things from the customer viewpoint can be done. But really, the most vibrant and professionally managed organizations will always take this feedback very, very serious. It may not happen immediately, you may not get the result of your feedback immediately, but it will definitely go into their decision-making process in bringing changes in their operations. This is how total value creation is looked upon by the organizations, instead of only focusing on cost-centric activities. Then, the next one is how these leadership competencies can be demanded. With regard to these three types, like digital technology, as we said earlier, what is important that the leadership is supposed to possess is artificial intelligence competency, that is literacy learning is first thing, and digital transformation, like whatever the knowledge that is gained by the leader should be transformed into action, so that in a capsule form it is given to the followers and the followers will practice them. And the third one is data-driven decision making. The next second competencies that are second set of competencies that are demanded are strategic adaptive thinking, resilient strategist. Under this, anti-fragility management, strategic scenario planning, and total cost to serve optimization. Anti-fragility management is one of the most important competencies that the leaders are supposed to possess, where the leader must look at every incident and every situation as a new one, as a fresh one, and therefore create a kind of a strategy from that, and thereby in future also any such kind of eventualities come, he should be ready to face. Strategic scenario planning is another capability, that competency that the leader is supposed to possess, where he should be ready to plan for the next 10-15 years by forecasting the future trends in business, by forecasting future trends in the supply chain management practices, and thereby designing your own leadership and supply chain and direction in today itself, so that the entire activity can be driven with much faster and efficient. The third one is total cost to serve optimization. Cost to output is not the point, cost to serve is the point. How much money am I able to spend in meeting the customer satisfaction? How much time am I able to spend to convince the customer, so that a convinced customer becomes a repeat purchaser? A convinced customer is the one who is a repeat purchaser. So this purchaser should repeatedly come to you. It is not just one day affair. Therefore, my total effort or cost or time or energy should always be moved towards serving the customer rather than gaining from the customer, because longevity of object, that is it. Human-centric collaborative leadership, which talks about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the most important qualities that the leaders should possess in all spheres of organizations life, and very specifically to supply chain management, where that EQ should be more in case of leadership than compared to this followers. Influencing without authority is something where, as I said earlier, do this, I don't do. That situation should not arise. Let us do the work together is the order of the day. No follower is ready to obey your orders blindly, including students. When we interact with students and give them some instruction, they think their own way, do their own way. Ultimately, when we ask them why the particular activity is not done, they give all kinds of reasons, maybe genuine also. They give the reasons that this and this is not available, or something, or somebody told us, or we thought that it can be done tomorrow, or something like that. So they are leaders for themselves. So leadership here is not just giving instructions and the follower is not there to follow it blindly, but they have their own talent. And therefore, you must make the followers accept and respect your authority rather than demanding it. Respect without fear. Which actually the quality that the leader is supposed to have here is to involve himself or herself with the team with the team-centric kind of management approach is very prevalent in organizations today. Organizational hierarchy is now coming slowly flatter and flatter, more circular centric rather than like triangular centric. Triangular centric approach has gone. It is only the circular centric approach, that is where the IT sector is becoming more and more successful in their operations with less effort and less time and less cost, is because of circular or group-based leadership or group-based organization structures. So, one such leadership example here is also that authority cannot be displayed or exhibited or exercised on followers. It is only by involving themselves with the members the work can be done. Therefore, influence the followers, influence the customers, influence the suppliers only with kind of involvement rather than showing authority there. Authority is one thing that the follower should identify in the leader. Then the leader himself forcing that authority on followers. Okay? Something like make the student, make the follower, make the other person realize by himself that he is a useless fellow. Then if you tell them that, if you tell him that you are a useless fellow, that fellow's ego hurts. That fellow he gets anger, all kinds of things. Instead of that, best method, you involve with him and make him realize in conversation or in discussion and make him realize that he is a fool, he is a useless fellow. Then ego is not hurt. There is a see-through change in his behavior instead. That is the kind of influential leadership. Then talent development and reskilling, making continuously conducting the training programs and bringing see-through change in terms of skills and knowledge of employees, and therefore create a kind of vibrant leader-follower kind of set of relations. Next. Right. The third type of leadership competencies that are required is sustainability and ethical leadership is ultimate. Environment, society, and governance, ESG. Under this, continuously monitoring and enhancing the knowledge on the kind of economy, global economy, integrating local economy, integrating even the financial position of the organization with that of global environment, global market conditions, share markets and different places. So wherein the leadership is supposed to have a complete, a holistic understanding of the circular economy integration. And the other quality is environment, society, and governance reporting and transparency. So here, as and when the reports about environment comes in terms of pollution, in terms of ecosystem, and the societal responsiveness, societal reactions, and the government regulations from time to time, all these are to be, the leadership is supposed to possess that competence in absorbing and understanding all this and reporting and transparency. And the same thing is the leadership should be able to practice with a complete 100% transparency. Next. Yeah. So looking at it in a different way, a chain type of competencies, that is collaborative attitude. Leadership is supposed to have the collaboration, that is enterprise to enterprise, be able to connect to the different partners in the total supply chain. So we say enterprise to enterprise or end to end, that is one end from this end to that end, with the partners, and holistic kind, very understanding of the business as a total value chain rather than profit creation, and adaptability, building anti-fragile systems, influential, that is strong in cross-functional leadership, then narrative-driven is excellent communication to relay stakeholders. This chain model has done a great impact. It has created a great impact in companies like Tesla, Toyota, Amazon, and such other organizations. When you look at Amazon, it has moved forward by applying this chain model of leadership in bringing, of course, this is an e-commerce company we know very well, and e-commerce companies mainly depend on their total supply chain effectiveness. Neither they are the manufacturers, nor they are the retailers, nor they are the customers. They are only the middlemen who were created because of technological advancement. Today, Swiggy, Amazon, or any other such, including PhonePe. PhonePe is not RBI. PhonePe is not bank. PhonePe doesn't require money, but it transfers money. That very transfer is a wonderful example of latest AI-driven supply chain today. And in case of Amazon could get nearly about 95% of success rate by application of this chain model of leadership in supply chain. They are essential businesses based on supply chain. Therefore, all the leadership qualities that the organization has to influence every operation at every operational stages, where the process of product movement becomes much faster. Out of many e-commerce companies or e-business companies, Amazon stands first because of their effective leadership. One of the reasons is that leadership has taken a strategic decision, very strong strategic decision of implementing customer-friendly kind of supply chain network, and therefore that is the reason why when you press the button, you get the details of the manufacturer also. Generally, when the product is sold, suppliers or manufacturers' details are not shared with the customer. But in a vibrant supply chain network, where if you order for a product on Amazon, the manufacturer's details are also given. You can straight away go to manufacturer's website and find out whether the product offered for selling by Amazon in their portal is genuine or not. There are other companies, Snapdeal and the rest of others, but they could not reach to this level, but Amazon did it. Similarly, in airlines you find Indigo has got nearly 65% of market share in India, domestic market. 65 market percent is not a joke. Still, in spite of following the chain model of leadership in supply chain, still they had troubles. In the recent months, we have seen how Indigo passengers shouted for the delayed flights and make them stranded for hours together and all that. Yet, the chain model of supply chain competencies will definitely work, because when you look at all these five points, all the five are very, very important even in normal business. But very particularly in case of supply chain based organizations, it is very, very must, and it will have a direct and highly influential impact. Next. Then how do we implement? Having understood that the competencies that are required and what kind of characteristics that the leadership is supposed to possess, and what is the leadership environment in supply chain management, and what is the supply chain management in the beginning, and integrating all this and understanding, and finally when we come to the level of knowing that yes, we have taken a decision, yes, we have confirmed that the leadership is necessary in the supply chain, affecting the supply chain management. And we also understood that what are the competencies that are required. And now how do we implement this? So what is first one is implement a digital first training. Digital first training, move from functional training to cross-functional and technology enabled training. Functional to cross-functional means, it is like if any of you understand the concept of employees training program, shifted from one place to go one program to another, and then another program, another function. That by the time the total training completes, the whole kind of activity of training, it gives the employee a complete understanding, holistic understanding of organizations. Job rotation. Job rotation is a type of training where the employee within a period, specified period, moves around all the organizations and gains importance. Therefore, this frog in the well situation doesn't arise. He will have holistic understanding of what the organizations are, and what is the purpose of organization, and what is the specific role of his department that is being followed. This is what digital first means, creating a type of digital training program. So creating a digital training program with the help of digital technology, and thereby make all employees perfect in understanding the organizations. Every employee is supposed to know the purpose of the organization, why this organization is running, how this organization is functioning, and who are the main responsible people leading the organization. Even a lost man in the organization is expected to know. This is what is called integrated leadership approach. Under that, by using digital technology, the new training programs are to be designed in such a way that every employee in the organization will definitely get a complete understanding of the purpose of organization, the functions of organization, the role of organization in economy, and the role of the kind of impact that the organization is going to create both in internal customers and external customers. Then, use cross-functional rotations. Encourage a talent to work in multiple departments. Somebody working in procurement department will be put in logistics and then to build a holistic approach. And set shared KPIs, key performance indicators. The key performance indicators that are to be identified by the leader for every employee in the organization and every position in the organization. Then the total process of performance of employee, what are the key areas where his performance can be measured properly, or measurement of employee's performance can become a most important significant point in the total performance. It's something very simple example is that bus driver, he cleans the bus, he makes sure that the bus is very in good condition and the seats are clean, everything fine, doesn't drive. While driving, you find a highly inefficient kind of skill that the employee has, whether his performance is good or bad. This is what I mean by key performance indicators. Key performance indicators in every job and every position is the area where the employee actually uses his skills, 100% skills in turning out a good performance, bringing in an expected result. That is important. So when the manager is there, the manager is supposed to take decisions. He does everything. He is very punctual. He is very good to employees. He does everything, but he is poor in decision making. He can't be employee. He can't be a good manager. In spite of doing all these activities perfectly, but ultimately when it comes to the crucial issues where his performance is really demanded and expected, that is what is called key performance indicators. And these key performance indicators are to be developed. And the next chart talks about the core leadership competencies. In case of digital and data fluency, what is important, essential qualities that are required is AL and ML. Go to the previous one. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. Previous. You have put the table, this one. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are the proficient areas where the leadership is supposed to develop. And it will have strategy, it will have a greater impact on analysis role, so that the leader will be able to make a quick and effective analysis of what the situation is, what is the condition of supply chain is, what is the responsiveness of customer is, what is the kind of responsiveness of supplier is, instantaneous. Then in the second competency area where strategic and adaptive thinking is there. Again, improving from disruption. That means when the most unfavorable conditions are there, how a manager, how a leader is expected to bring from that undisrupted condition to the most accepted condition. That is the kind of skill which requires effective planning and managing the the global data which can be more effective in decision making and thereby leads to a kind of high strategic impact. Then the human-centric, essentially these are when we talk about leadership and the supply chain, these are the major three important areas where the total kind of discussion moves on. That is digital proficiency and strategic adaptive thinking, and then the humanistic approach. Next. So now the emerging pillars in the supply chain leadership are total value orchestration is one. So ultimately the focus of any leader is supposed to be on the totality of the organization, how entire organization can be made more effective or better performing by making the supply chain more effective. The same type of leadership is applicable in other areas also, decision making, planning, and functional centric kind of leadership is there. Leadership is common, but when it comes to specific to supply chain, these are the points that we try to highlight and then understand. The same leadership can be put when it is talked in the context of strategic management, then it would be different. And when it is talked in the context of financial management, then it would be different. When we talk about the core business competencies, global competitions, market conditions, and etc., there the leadership will be redefined in a different fashion. But as far as supply chain is management concerned, these are the three major areas where the leaders are supposed to focus and enhance their capabilities. So total value must be created rather than creating price for the organization. And sustainability and ethical governance is important, where the organizations, the leaders must see that the organizations sustain for a longer period. We have seen some of the companies which are closed, for example, Vaidut and Nokia, which was supposed to be responsible in introducing mobile phone technology to Indian market. And today it is nowhere. Nokia from Finland. So today it is nowhere. Vaidut is the same thing. His name is Ranganadan, I'm not getting his name. Natarajan. He was the one who retired armed forces person, created vibration in the air travel market, where he brought 1 rupee ticket also. I don't know how many of you are sure. I tried and tried, but I didn't get it. But of course, I got for a lesser price, for a lesser ticket price, I traveled to Delhi and came back with just 1,000 rupees. You can't imagine, 1,000 rupees you don't get even to Kakinada from Anand. That's the kind of vibrations he created. He was responsible in bringing a see-through change in the price markets for air travel market. And what happened? He could not sustain that growth, fast-growing company. He was unable to maintain. His leadership was not sufficient. So he could not make the company success. Meanwhile, other players started influencing the company, and finally the company was sold to Kingfisher. And Kingfisher itself has also gone down. So, in these kind of vibrant market conditions, highly competitive and volatile kind of market situations, how could Indigo maintain its percentage? How could Indigo, you see now, in every 4 flights, you find at least 2 flights Indigo are there. Which means I am just telling the lesser kind of impact. It's only 50%. It's not 50%. You will definitely see 3 flights out of 4. In every airport, you see the first flight that lands is Indigo. Indigo has taken the basic reasons, the fundamental reasons for the high success of this company is essentially the leadership. Leadership is in the company is such a wonderful one that it is at any given point of time, from time to time, the leadership is able to understand the market conditions and immediately absorb those reactions or observations and then make their strategies different and thereby able to attract and retain the customers. Today there is no need for Indigo to retain the customers. Customers have no other option except Indigo. Almost it is becoming monopoly now. Just imagine in the absence of Air India or SpiceJet, Indigo will be 100%, Indigo will be capturing 100% market. 100% in the air travel market is not a joke. If you book a ticket, it is 8,000 rupees. By mistake, if you put a wrong date and again rebook it, you will lose 4,000 rupees. 50% gain is there for the company. Look at how the operations will be. And equally, they are also equally customer responsive. When we make any kind of a complaint, immediately there is a reply from them. That means they are very vigilant about the market conditions. We are highly cautious that they don't want to give even an iota of chance to competitors to grab their market. That is how they are protecting their market. Of all the reasons, one most significant reason for the success of Indigo is the leadership there, particularly leadership focusing on the supply chain trends. Okay, next. Next one. Okay. Yeah, this is lower. Yeah. So ultimately, in summation, one can. So in summation, we say that supply chain management has a tremendous impact on the business. The business that is created in today's context has a fundamental support as a backbone by supply chain. Without supply chain, no organization is surviving. And this supply chain is highly influenced by the vibrant developments in technology, and very particularly in today's technology it is impacting a tremendous kind of pressure on supply chain management in adopting different developments in technology. And when such a kind of a situation, supply chain management is supposed to work, is challenged to work, what is the kind of a leadership? Because a supply chain cannot be isolated without an effective leadership. Leadership here focuses for the entire organization, and leadership is the one which should influence the supply chain in totality. And therefore, any kind of supply chain, that is models or whatever practices that are adopted, implemented in the organization, are supposed to be controlled or supposed to be influenced by the like organizational leadership also. Like when we talk about the leadership and its interface with the supply chain, leadership should have a different viewpoint. Leadership should have a different kind of segment and thereby try to influence the supply chain and drive the supply chain further. In the absence of effective leadership, one cannot imagine as how the supply chain could be making itself effective. And therefore, it brings in significance in discussing this particular topic in this very important workshop as to how the leadership will create an impact on supply chain and its interface with the supply chain. And therefore, the leader holding a leadership, either formal or informal leadership in the organization, is expected to have a different lookout, a different kind of way of understanding supply chain by looking at the organization in a holistic form, and ultimately create a kind of a positive, indelible kind of impact of leadership on the supply chain. So this is how the leadership has an interface with the supply chain management in the organizations. So I stop at this point. Any questions are there? You can interact. Otherwise, I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I hope I have reached to your expectations. If there are any suggestions, kindly I request all of you to share with me. Thank you very much. Thank you.